Next one.
Yes.
This is more like that side burner on your grill that you never use.
Oh yeah, it's pristine.
Yeah.
Pristine, yeah.
Yeah, it'll boil water, but
Yeah.
it really just collects mouse droppings.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. What is FS-ISAC, and are most of our clients members of FS-ISAC, and should they be?
Okay, ISAC is an information sharing organization. FS-ISAC is one specifically designated for financial institutions, financial services. So FS-ISAC is a financial services information sharing organization, right? What is it? The regulators believe that, perhaps rightly, but there are caveats there, which we'll get to in a second, that if institution can share threat information, something that's brand new to you may have already been seen by a dozen other institutions, and they've already had to go through the containment and control and remediation response and all those steps, right? So if everybody knows what everybody else is having to deal with, it's a stronger world, right? And there's a lot to be said for that. So I mentioned the caveat. FS-ISAC membership, and the reason that this is singled out as the premier information sharing organization for financial institutions is because the cybersecurity assessment tool specifically mentions FS-ISAC. And we've had circumstances where examiners have come in and specifically looked for FS-ISAC membership. So it has become the de facto standard for institutions to belong to as far as information sharing is concerned. So most of them belong to it. And so when you belong to it, regardless of the level that you belong, there are various levels, once you belong to it, you start getting information. It's the information sharing part, right? So you start getting emails sent to your organization. And these emails are classified in various different ways according to importance. And essentially they start filling up someone's email box. The caveat is no one's doing anything with them. So can we check the box that says we belong to FS-ISAC? Yep. But the unchecked box and the unasked box so far by regulators is, what are you doing with it? It's kind of like the cybersecurity assessment. Are you doing it? Yep. Are you doing anything with it? Well, no. We're just going to do it again next year, right? FS-ISAC, the same thing. Are you getting the alerts? Yep. Is that considered information sharing? Well, you're consuming it. On a good day, you're consuming it. Chances are you're not looking at it, but let's say you're consuming it, right? But are you giving anything back, right? Information sharing is supposed to be a two-way street, and we're not seeing that element of it either. So it's a great concept. Share information, we'll all be stronger. Two problems. Number one, you're getting all this information, you don't know what to do with it. Number two, you're on the consumer side and you're not sharing back. So I think if those two things can be addressed, this concept of FS-ISAC and information sharing in general is a great idea.
So FS-ISAC members get these bulletins periodically from them.
Yes.
What are the different types of bulletins they get?
Well, they're amber, white, and green, I think, as I understand, and the amber are the most important ones, the most critical ones. But again, unless you've got a folder structure set up and you've got them going into the right folders, and then you've got somebody designated every day, because there's a volume of information. I've heard as many as, sometimes on a slow day, 15 or 20. On a busy day, it could be almost 100. Is somebody going into those folders and at least opening the amber folder and saying, is there anything in here that pertains to me? Again, it's a big ask for most institutions because everybody's wearing multiple hats, particularly on a smaller institution. Larger institutions probably have a single individual allocated to each one of those classifications in their analyze. But again, community banks, financial institutions can't do that. They don't have those resources. So big challenge, get the information, make sense of it if you can, and then where you can, share back so that your peer group, the universe of financial institutions that are about your same size and complexity can benefit from something that you might have experienced. And those two things are missing right now.
The bulletins I see that seem to be the most actionable for me are the ones that contain specific technical cybersecurity indicators of compromise, like a known bad IP address or something like that.
Yep.
What other types of bulletins are there?
Well, on the amber scale, you mean on the most critical scale?
Sure.
All right, so the ones that I've seen, deal with, some are fairly regional in nature, right? That the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco is seeing this or that, so someone in the Atlanta district could probably safely ignore. Or it might be a series of cashier's checks that have been stolen from an institution or counterfeited and are being distributed in a certain area. Again, most of these things have to be taken in the context of where is the institution located, and is this particular, now that the cyber events obviously are global, but there's a lot of local stuff that comes out of FS-ISAC. Useful enough if you fit within, the demographic that might be affected by that. Not so useful if you don't, but the IP address stuff or the bad actors we're seeing from certain rogue countries, that sort of thing, those things are generally helpful. What the average financial institution is supposed to do with that is another matter. And that's where I think it makes sense to engage a knowledgeable third party that might have already put a methodology in place to make sense of those things and are providing some filtering so that, yes, you're doing a classification into the 3, red, amber, green, and white, but then furthermore, there's another step, another filtration that takes place that says, okay, of these amber, here are the things you might really want to take a look at. So you're taking something that might start at a couple hundred a day, boiling it down to a dozen, and boiling that down to 1 or 2.
Tom, I'm thrilled you were able to join us today.
Been my pleasure.
If you're not already Tom's biggest fan, after you visit complianceguru.com, you will be. And thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So we'll continue the Super-Duper CEO series soon with a deeper dive into specific cybersecurity and technology issues. Thank you, and see you next time.